You know who most people have a tendency to trust? People who work. Yes, people who work. A lot of folks have been blasting me on this channel asking what are my qualifications, where's my PhD, etc. I'll put it this way. I might not have a PhD, but I do have a DD 214. And most of you folks know what that means because you've got one as well. What that means is I served in the U.S. military. I was honorably discharged. And I've got more real-world experiences. I've been to more countries, have lived within more cultures, and at one point or another have spoken more languages, more than likely than any professor right down the road at the University of Virginia. Okay? So let me give you a couple of more letters behind a name that holds more validity to the people than a PhD. And that's CDL. That's the long haul truckers, the men and women who go out there day in, day out, often leaving their families for weeks at a time to make sure we're getting the goods we need from coast to coast, country to country. And we've got validation from one such individual, a long haul trucker, in today's tale. Okay, here's what I'm going to discuss. This fog, and FYI, I'm making this video quite a bit later in the day than usual because for the last few mornings, the fog has been so thick when I have dared to come out. It's affected me. Now, my eyes are clearing up now, but for the last few days have been so red, they've kind of been as pink as this hat. But I stayed inside this morning, waited for the fog to clear. Now, here I am. But that brings me to the beginning of what I'm going to talk to you about today. Received in the comment section from a very active follower, 7Species592, writes, "Good morning, Kevin. I came across something very interesting about the persistent fog worldwide. In Florida, they have warnings for people to stay out of the fog and do not breathe it. Apparently, unusually high levels of PM 2.5, whatever that is, but it has the appearance of snow-like particles. You may have already covered this, but I feel I've watched all your videos," and then they go on to say they listen to my videos on the way home from work. Thank you. I might not have covered this, so I did a little digging around this morning, and let me tell you what I found, and I'm going to state my source because I've got to give credit to my source. I'm going to read some words that came directly from the source. The source is the Daily Mail. Now, it's a UK publication, dates back to 1896, and I hear you. You're saying, wait a minute, the Daily Mail, they're not credible. Some of their stuff's true, certainly, especially a lot of their celebrity gossip, but a lot of the other stuff is conspiratorial. I want you to keep that in mind as I read you what they wrote, because it's significant, okay? So I got this from the Daily Mail just this morning, and forgive me, I am a lot closer to the road than where I usually make my videos. I usually make them up on the hill at a quite higher elevation and further away from the road, but frankly, that fog that I mentioned has lifted this morning. It's still lingering up there, and I just don't want to get in it. So I'm down here. I'll do my best to speak over any traffic that comes by. From the Daily Mail, article about this mystery fog enveloping most of the U.S. and many residents reporting symptoms of respiratory illnesses. First of all, as you're going to see, as I share comments from you folks, and again, keep sending them in, send me the emails, crazylake@mail.com, Good News, True Hauntings Volume 6, that has so many of these stories that have been flagged on social media. People have emailed them to me, asked to remain anonymous. It's out in print and Kindle. The link's in the description box below. All right, so again, it's not just the U.S. These stories are coming in from all around the world. Now, back to the Daily Mail. A Florida resident told dailymail.com that they stopped at a gas station for about 10 minutes and then began feeling ill. Within about an hour, and this is a quote from this person, "I kept sneezing over and over for about 3 hours and my eyes were really puffy," she said. "I got very warm and I felt like I had a fever and my stomach was cramping." Parts of Texas, Wisconsin, Iowa, Maryland, Virginia, where I am, West Virginia, right across the border, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Florida, and Minnesota were under fog alerts when the bizarre report surfaced this week. I'm in my 50s and I don't remember so many different states across such a vast portion of our nation being under fog alerts at the same time. We've got states in the South, okay, Virginia, the Midwest, Southern Midwest, Oklahoma, the northern Midwest, North Dakota, on the border with Canada, all these states, even the great nation of Texas, under advisory, all at the same time. Similar experiences have also emerged from parts of Canada and the UK, sparking widespread concern. Here we go. Here's where they're giving us that label. Conspiracy theories are running rampant, with people suggesting the fog could be a kind of chemical weapon or is related to the drones that mysteriously plagued the nation in December. How come they're not talking about those anymore? We had a couple of tragic events happen just a couple of days ago as of this recording. One in New Orleans, one in Las Vegas. And it's like, what's the old saying? Don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing. If you're paying attention to what's going on over here, you're not going to notice what's going on over there. Keep it in mind, folks. Now, from here, the article gives a lot of first-hand accounts from people claiming the fog has made them ill. We don't need their accounts because I'm getting ready to share your accounts with you, many of your accounts. Okay, and in the article, and I want to point this out, there was a woman in Texas who mentioned her dog and how strange it's been acting and how it refuses to go outside. Keep that one in mind too, okay? Now, more from the Daily Mail. They say the National Weather Service issued a dense fog advisory for multiple states, suggesting there could be a scientific explanation behind these bizarre reports. Now, notice this, how an outlet that is known to be somewhat tabloidish is going to start using scientific facts. Why is this? Remember what I've said before. The best way to hide a lie is in between two truths. And the best way to hide the truth is between two lies. While the particles may seem unusual, fog is a visible aerosol consisting of tiny water droplets or ice crystals suspended in the air near the Earth's surface. It goes on and on to give the scientific explanation behind fog. Boring. But then it says, multiple studies have shown that fog can cause respiratory issues such as coughing, shortness of breath, chest pain, congestion, and wheezing, especially in people with asthma. That's because our lungs are designed to only take in oxygen. FYI, folks who vape out there, I'm not judging you, but I do know some folks in the medical profession, and I've asked them, because the going theory is that this is less harmless than smoking. Folks in the medical industry are telling me there's not enough data in yet to suggest that, but they have told me, just like this article did say, and this is science, our lungs are only designed to take in oxygen, air, nothing else. And these vape stuff are moisture, okay? Now, the article ends with this. Mind you, tabloid known for its conspiratorial type articles, which for some reason, when it comes to this fog, it's knocking. Doesn't have anything to do with this one. The article ends with this. Thus, the mystery fog isn't so mysterious after all. People across the U.S. are most likely experiencing a perfectly normal winter weather event, as there is no evidence to suggest otherwise at this time. Really? Well, I'm curious, Daily Mail, why is it that ordinarily you would pick up a story like this and run with it, but now you're trying to discredit it? Bought and paid for like the traditional legacy media outlets, perhaps? Coerced? Here's what you folks are saying. Okay, Vicky Cock, 3592, writes, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. Heavy fog every morning for the last couple weeks. People can't sleep or breathe and are getting sick from whatever's in the fog. Mari Ziorendazo. Listen, that's a long name, probably mispronounced it, but if this is you, this is what you wrote. And again, this is all follow-up to the video I made a couple of days ago about the fog. Has anyone experienced getting sick in the fog in Florida? And again, our original questionee, 7 species 592 mentions Florida. This is here, the second Floridian, okay? Has anyone experienced getting sick in the fog in Florida? Because I have. Symptoms: dizziness, trouble keeping my balance, sick to my stomach, trouble with breathing. Every bone in my body hurts and I'm very tired. This happened for about 3 days. Anyway, please let me know. Well, we're letting you know. You're not alone. Others in your part of the world are experiencing this too. Now, I'm assuming this is a pseudonym unless we've got the crooked one chiming in here on our channel. Hillary Clinton 123-K7Q writes, I've been so sick since Christmas night when a fog rolled through here in San Francisco, California, opposite side of the country as Florida. It makes my neck hurt and I can't sleep at night. I'm 74 years old and this is serious for my health. It is already bad. Tampa Chick 813 says, I'm in Florida and the fog has been wild. Me and my family were sick on Christmas week and were diagnosed with hand, foot, and mouth disease, but I didn't have those symptoms, just nausea and fatigue on my part. Now, folks, I've made a notation here. This one comes from a trucker because as I started with this video, this is who people believe. The men and the women who are out there rolling their sleeves up and doing the work that makes this country and this world go round. It's not the experts in the ivory tower who never did anything other than go to classes and schools and got advanced degrees and then sat back in that ivory tower, many of whom graduated from that very ivory tower, and tell those of us who have actually gone out and lived what's going on and how we're crazy for claiming to see the things we're seeing and having the experiences we've experienced because they read more textbooks than us. Oh, and they're good at quoting whatever talking head on whatever legacy media outlet they stay glued to, instead of going out into the world and living and having experiences, get a bunch of degrees, stay glued to a media outlet, and then act like you know something. Let me tell you, Mr. and Mrs. PhD who knows something, Mr. and Mrs. CDL. Okay? And this one's coming from a long haul trucker. Super L. Greer. Let's give a proper shout out. And thank you for the work you do. I live in eastern Pennsylvania, Amish country. I drive a tractor trailer. When traveling to Maryland and New Jersey, I have noticed a chemical smell for the past few months. It is worse when it is foggy out. The fog here has been pretty often early in the morning. I too have felt sick, lightheaded, headache, upset stomach more than one occasion. It's from a trucker who gets around. Particularly, it sounds like up in that tri-state area, has been getting around up there frequently and often and probably for a long time. And just in the last few months has noticed that there's this odd odor that's coming with this fog. Josie Wilds writes, my security cameras, this is a good one. My security cameras have been picking up particles in the air for 5 years now. I know when it's thick because it sets off the human alarm and notifies me on my phone. When I look at the live feed, it's just particles. Last night on New Year's Eve, so this one came in a couple days ago, actually just one day ago, as you can see there. I guess it is only the 3rd of January. We had a fog roll in. It didn't stay long, but I'm now sick. My nose is sore. I have a sore throat, mucus, and the smell of minty. She's smelling what smells like minty toothpaste. And remember, I told you to keep this nugget in your head about pets. My cat that is usually outside has not wanted to go outside since the drone shows and orbs. Godspeed, everyone. Kristen, 3944 writes, now this just gives us something to think about. She's following the timeline here. So after the assassination of the United Health CEO, then came the drones they supposedly don't know anything about, and now this weird fog that's not fog that's making people sick. Assassination, drones, fog causing sickness. Is this all connected somehow, or am I just a crazy, suspicious conspiracy theorist, untrusting of the media and the government that lies to us on a daily basis about everything? Hey, labels aside, if you just want to look at the group of people that don't trust government and media because they lie to us on a daily basis, I'd say you're not just in pretty good company, Kristen, but you're in a pretty good group, pretty big group of company. Am I missing something? Did I miss something? Am I connecting dots that aren't connected? No. All of this after extremely strong and deadly weather events such as the hurricanes, as well as an unusual increase in the amount of tornadoes occurring. You know, people like Kristen are aware. They're paying attention. They're not, and listen, I'm a strong advocate for reading. Clearly, I'm a writer, and I read upwards of 10 books a month, actually, on top of all my writing and editing and social media content creation and coaching 40 hours a week, on a volunteer basis and spending time with my family. But having your nose in a book and getting outside in the real world instead of hiding inside from the sun, and in this case, the fog, which just probably might not be a bad idea to do it. But if you're keeping your nose in books, keeping your eyes glued to a mainstream media legacy outlet on your laptop or your whatever gadget or your television, but you're not going outside to play, please don't act like you know something, because you don't. Kristen obviously is going outside and playing, and she's been paying attention. And Kristen, you are connecting dots that aren't connecting to each other through you and others of us who go outside and actually see what's going on. This is from Ross Eglin. And again, to highlight, it's not just Florida and it's not just the U.S. Ross writes, "Hello, I'm from the U.K. I'm an ex-soldier like you, so please believe my integrity and my intentions." Hey, thank you for your service, Ross. I don't know if you guys call it a DD-214 in the UK or whatever, your permanent military record, but let me tell you, not just because I have one, but also due to my brothers and sisters in arms and those who went before me before I served. DD-214 has always and will always mean more to me and most folks than PhD. Ross, you got a proper education. All right. Says we're going through the same thing here in the UK, fog and sickness. Most people we know are sick. They're very ill. Also, I live on the South Coast, way more. I've seen what they call a mothership around 3 years ago. Also the red orbs. So the same thing you are talking about, I can confirm is happening here. I thought my mind made it up. It's a long story. I won't go into it. I like to say thank you for your courage and voice. Have a good new year. Take care. Ross, you're very welcome, and thank you for sharing your experience with us. I hope you have a wonderful new year, too. 2025 is going to be a bumpy ride. Just buckle up, folks. Soliel8999 writes, again, pet owners, you might want to start keeping them inside. My outside dog is sick. Is anyone else's? Her symptoms are like mild rat poisoning. Sudden extreme anemia, basically. And bringing her in the house has been super restorative. 2 days back outside, she's crazy sick again. After being restored from being inside, 2 more days outside and she's sick again. We took her to the vet and she's on antibiotics now and a carnivore diet and staying inside except for potty breaks. We had a strange fog that just hovered real thick over the fields a couple weeks ago. I've never seen a fog like that in all my 46 years. Also, a massive increase in Chinook helicopters in our area the past 2 months. So here's somebody knocking on the door of having been around for half a century. Never seen anything like this, folks. And how do you explain the Chinooks? That's a military helicopter. Mont Bob writes, I live in Virginia, about an hour or so north of you. We had the fog for 3 days around Christmas, and I think it's disease. Everyone is sick, dead, or dying. The orbs preceded the fogging every time. Chaggy 1978 writes, another Britisher here. Hi, I'm from the UK. I went to my dad's house for Christmas Day, and when I arrived, it was very foggy. My dad was sick with a really bad respiratory virus, according to his doctor, and my dad had been out in the fog walking his dog. The next day, my throat was tingling and burning and felt like I was coming down with the cold, as I also had a bit of a high temperature. But then 3 days later, it cleared up, and I am fine now, but my dad is still suffering. So very similar to my story, my wife's story. Sick for 3 days, but then after that third day, it's like a miraculous recovery. But her or his father is still sick. Folks, this is just something that went through my mind when I read this one. Think about what's going on now and think about what went on a few years ago. And then also think about natural selection. Is it possible? You're hearing about Project 2030. Look at the strain aged people are putting on the healthcare system. And many of them, as in most, probably are not insured enough to be able to pay for that strain. So somebody else is having to pick up the tab. Taxpayers, government, private individuals. Is it possible that this is by design to ensure that natural selection is seen through? I mean, I went to Walmart yesterday. I don't like going to that place, but I went in there yesterday. I had to get a few things. And I just looked around. Okay, I'm in my 50s. I felt like a high school student in there in comparison to the rest of the shoppers. They were aged, and a lot of them did not look healthy. Okay, and I'm not judging and I'm not making fun of anybody, but you could clearly see the roller scooters, the walking aid mechanisms, the obesity, the visible physical health issues these folks had. And then we're reading about this. Are they trying to alleviate the strain on the healthcare system by knocking out a certain demographic, i.e. the aged and unhealthy? Just an idea. Sue 11-11 writes, I'm in Shady Cove, Oregon. I have seen no drones, but we have had a lot of fog with no smell. But that can be normal. Since December 26, however, I felt off balance and weird in the head, but I don't feel sick. The fog let up yesterday, and this morning I don't feel quite so unbalanced. Ali 187 FTP writes, I live in the mountains of Australia, Sydney. Here we go. So we've been all over the U.S., Canada, England or UK, and now Australia. And she continues, I work night shift, 12 hours a night. A few weeks back on my way back from Bathurst, now north-southwest, I came up to fog I've never seen before. This fog wasn't your normal fog. I'm 41 and I have seen normal fog. I've been sick since then, and so has the guys at work. Please let people know it's down here too. So it's not just in this northern hemisphere, it's on the opposite side and the bottom of the world. It's in Australia. J Tiger 7 writes, I'm in Mississippi, and we had quite a bit of fog this morning. Very difficult to drive this morning, and yes, we've been sick for the last 2.5 weeks, and we're having a time shaking it. Lori Brandon writes, Central Pennsylvania here. My husband and I have been sick since the fog. The fog was really thick 3 days ago. A weird haze and lots of chemtrails the day before the fog started. An abnormal heat followed it. My husband has been sick with flu-like symptoms and a severe fever all day today, New Year's Eve. So this is from a couple days ago. I take a lot of supplements that contain anti-radiation vitamins. I am not as bad as he is. I worry. I've been giving him the supplements I take and ivermectin just to be safe. When I saw the haze and chemtrails, I knew something bad was coming. The haze was so bad from the chemtrails, not the fog, yet. It looked like smoke from a wildfire. The fog and extreme heat preceded it. They are trying to unalive us. I had to change a word there. You know what unalive means, right? It's the opposite of alive. But in this case, it's being used as a verb. Stephanie 88216 writes, had the weird fog in central Texas. We're all sick now. Looked crazy on the security cameras. PNW 7711 writes, Northwest Oregon. Get up in the morning and we're fogged in. By 2 to 3 p.m. it's above the houses. Listen to this. By 5 to 6 it's coming back down. So it's there in the morning, goes above the houses by mid-afternoon, but by 5 or 6 p.m. it starts coming back down. I've been sick for 11 days after being out in the fog, moving my storage unit. And I'm going to end with this one. From Scotland. Okay? Look. Okay, this is XJRman5062. Okay, shout out if that's you. And as you can see, I copy and paste these. This is word for word from the people, not the experts. Yeah, there's some letters behind these names, CDL and DD214, which carries more weight than those other letters. Because these are the people that actually go outside and play and do things in the real world and have real world experiences. They write, look, no offense, but normally I would class you as a tin hat man. But I live in Scotland in the middle of nowhere and we get fog all the time. But the past few days, we have had a fog that smells really strong like a welding gas. And the night, me and my dog were out in it. We walked past some sheep and they were all coughing more than usual. And that same night, my dog was sick at 4 a.m., which is a first for him. But to make things a bit more stranger, my neighbor 2 miles up the road got taken into the hospital with breathing difficulty. He's only 42 years old and a hard-working farmer. So this is somebody who's fit and in shape. I also woke with a tight chest and not feeling myself, but I didn't think anything of it till I just saw your videos. I'm still not sure, but just thought I'd mention it. Hey, thanks for the input and no offense taken. Yeah, a year ago, if we'd have been talking about this stuff, people would have thought, yeah, you need to invest in some more tinfoil to put on your hat or to put on your head. But right there, we've talked about 5 or 6 different countries where people have had experiences all over the United States. Confirmation from a long-haul trucker, okay, who is out there regularly, day in, day out, night out, who's reporting these things. Folks, continue to send us your stories. Put them in the comment section on the channel. You can email them to me at crazylake@mail.com. If you want to be kept anonymous, like many people are asking me to do, I promise I will keep you anonymous. We are compiling these stories, putting them together in print. Again, True Hauntings Volume 6 just came out. 99% of those stories were sent in from email. They were comments that were held for review, most of them, and even though I approved them, they still disappeared again. We're getting them out there in print so they're not being disappeared. Okay, the link is in the description box below. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for spending some more time with me. See you for more next time.